we communicated, through the mail. Yeah, they had a mail there. There was a airplane that would carry the mail of the PBY Catalina, and had big pontoons on it to carry the mail back and forth. When I left the signal tower, I went across to the other side, and I was working at the port directors on a pier because the chief and I, we did not get along after a period of time.
Why was that?
Well, he was a very religious man. We used to go to church sometimes 4 or 5 times a week with him, but he turned kind of sour. We had a pet raccoon, and he threw that over the side. And then we had an alligator in one of the bathtubs, and he didn't want to have that. And then I went for my rating to become a third-class petty officer, and he took that rating away from me after he said I could take the test. And I told him, I said, well, you said I could take the test. He said, I know, I told you that, but I didn't say you could take all the tests. I said, well, what's the use of taking the test if you don't take it, pass it, and get the rating? So he took it away from me. So I had a friend, lieutenant commander on the other side of the canal, so he got me transferred over there. So and then I was at the port directors, and then I was sending people here and there on the travel orders, endorser orders, and that was another experience that I have to tell you. This one's kind of interesting. It was 6 o'clock at night. I was getting ready to go ashore on Liberty, and I had put 2 of the sailors aboard this merchant ship. It was a USS Crescent City, and stationed out of Crescent City, California. And it used to be a troop ship, and they converted it into carrying Navy personnel between the Canal Zone and the United States. So I called them up and see if they had room for 2 sailors, and they said yes. Well, an hour later, here they came back into the barracks. And I said, you guys are supposed to be on board. You're sailing in the morning. He says, the ship is filthy where they put us. And I said, well, I'll go down and see if I can get the orders back. So I went down and going aboard to salute the flag. And it was Lieutenant J.G., 2 of them, there by the bridge, asked me what I wanted, and I said, well, I wanted to get the orders back for these 2 sailors. I said, I'm going to put them on a different ship. And he said, why? And I said, well, they said it was quite unlivable. So they got the medical officer, who was the commander, and the 3 of us went down in there, and it looked like there's held maybe 1,000 sailors, I don't know, passengers. And the bunks was about 4 high, and the mattresses, they were hanging over the edge, dirty, some of them were, and it was hot, very, very humid. And so the medical officer said, well, it does look pretty bad. So you gotta go see the captain. So he was a 4-stripe captain. So I went into his office, and he asked me my name, my rank, where I worked. I said, port director, officer, Lieutenant Commander Charles Knight. And the captain says, are you going to be there in the morning? I said, no, sir, I'm going to take the day off because the ship was going to sail in the morning. So I got my orders back. And I told him, I said, I thought the U.S. Navy was the cleanest Navy in the world. And I said, this is pretty bad. And it was really terrible. And so he came and talked to my commanding officers the next day. And then when I went in the next day, he says, "Si, you got to be careful with these four-striper," and he says he was going to put you on, what the word, and send you to the South Pacific, like I mentioned before, and for what you did call his ship dirty. But he says he changed his mind probably because if I would have, in return, put him on report, the ship would have to stay in port and get cleaned up. Oh. And he didn't want that, but at the time, I didn't think of that. But it was...
he had your back.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, that was quite an incident.
Of course.
Yeah.
So when it was over, when the war was over, where did you go? Did you go back home, or did you go somewhere else?
Yes, I got discharged in Jacksonville, Florida, and I got on went out to the Army base, and they said get on an airplane and go to Chicago or New York or Minneapolis or someplace. So I went out there and said, "If there's room, yeah, I got room for you." So I got on this little airplane, and it was taking off, and I got a flat tire. Oh. So I had to go back. We fixed the tire, got back on the airplane, took off, then hydraulic oil all over the windshield. So we came back again, and I said, "I'm getting out of here." So I went down to the train station, and I got on board a train, and just full of sailors and soldiers. I mean, everywhere. You couldn't even hardly walk through. And I walked past the ladies' restroom, and there was no women on board. And I knocked on the door, there's nobody inside. So I was with a friend, just acquaintance, I guess. So the two of us was in there, nice big room, and we stopped at a town, and a lady and her daughter came there and knocked on the door, and I said, "Come on in." And she came in, and I said, "We're in here because there's no other women on board, and no place out there to even sit." So the four of us sat in there, went to Chicago, and then went to Minneapolis. That's why I bought a whole bunch of new clothes, and then went back down to Fairmont.
Was your family expecting you? Did they know you were coming?
They probably did. I probably wrote them telling them I was being discharged. I was in Jacksonville, I think, for about a week. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they knew I was coming.
That must have been a happy moment.
Yeah, it was nice to get home.
Of course.
Nice to...
Do you think that these 2 years that you served have made an impact on your life?
Well, a lot of people resent being in the service. I didn't think of it that way. I actually enjoyed it because I had really good duty compared to what other people went through. And of course I survived, and a lot of my school friends didn't survive. And most of my relatives, I don't believe I lost any relatives, close relatives. But so I enjoyed serving my country.
Well, I honor you and thank you. That was a very, very interesting story.
Yeah. Thank you for interviewing.